2026 season here on the Sooner or Later Sports Show, a Hog Media production presented by Sleeper. That's Coop. I'm Jay. Thanks for pulling up here on the YouTube channel and listening wherever podcasts are downloaded and listen to while you're here. Please wipe your feet and like, subscribe, rate, review. Give us 5 stars. You don't think we deserve it? Go ahead and give us 5 anyway and gift it. So on today's episode of the Sooner or Later Sports Show, me and Coop's got a lot of fun topics to talk about, like landing another wide receiver, even though it's technically our own wide receiver. We're going to talk about some of the other portal potential moves, as well as heading into 2026. The final AP poll drops, plus a whole bunch of way too earlys are hitting. So got a lot of stuff to dive into and prepare ourselves into 2026. Coop, happy Wednesday, my man. How's it going? Oh, yeah, we're going to talk about recruiting, because I promised y'all recruiting updates were coming today. You doing all right, man?
Doing good. Happy Wednesday. And, a pretty fun time of the year. We were talking about it earlier today. List season will be, coming up, and bold predictions and teams rating themselves as, A pluses in the portal. It's all kinds of, every team looks like they're a natty contender as of today.
Of course,
next year.
Everybody looks like a natty contender, and I am totally here for that. Doesn't hurt my feelings whatsoever, that we're all natty contenders. But at the same time, I also like to take a gander and look at the realisticness of everything. So the national championship was fun. Shout out to all y'all coming back. We appreciate y'all jumping here in the chat. Hit the like button if you're new to the channel. Subscribe if you like the audio version. There is an audio version. Search for us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever podcasts are downloaded, listen to. Just search Sooner or Later Sports Show, which is the actual podcast version for Unfair Sports. Cool. National Championship. I want to do a real quick recap on that. And we're going to jump into recruiting. We'll talk into the transfer portal pickup that we got. Then we'll jump right into recruiting and spend a lot of time on that and future stuff. But how did you feel about that game? Personally, I thought it was awesome. That was a fun college football game, and that's what I was hoping we would get out of a national championship, besides the fact that we weren't in it. But, yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, it was a good game. You see the Mendoza had his, that touchdown run, on fourth down. I mean, you get some brass cojones by, making that call right there. All of his size definitely showed. Him getting just completely spun around, diving and getting drilled again. I mean, when you see, a Peyton Manning and Michael Vick do stuff like that in the NFL, those images last for a very, very long time. And I think that Indiana could win more by winning that than Miami could have, because it was the completion. It was the completion. We talk about that undefeated Patriots team, and, they go short. David Tyree situation in the Super Bowl. And, it's one of the greatest teams ever, but they don't cap it off with the win. And so, everybody kind of forgets about them.
Yeah.
This Indiana team, they capped it off, and they look like one of those old Patriots teams. And so congratulations to the University of Indiana. All those guys and their grandchildren, all those players get to hang out with their grandchildren after the game, because they're all extremely old. And, it's just a good thing for them. The Kurt Signetti memes are absolutely a blast on the internet. So pretty excited that it was a good game.
Yeah, it was them cementing themselves as a historic season in college football history. It's a good thing, right? Because it was 100% that, and Miami gave them a fight. They did not back down. They actually, Carson Beck gave you exactly what you expected. I think somebody even mentioned in the Discord that we're on the cusp of a Carson Beck interception, and guess what? The interception came to close the game out. Gosh darn it. You can tell when that's how habits get you.
It's funny. They said something along the lines of Carson Beck's had, I think it was 6 or another number, game-winning drives, to like at the end of the season, at the end of the game, down by a score. Carson Beck's led the team down, and in 4 of those, it led to a game losing interception. So
Yeah.
everybody did feel like it was coming. He stayed pretty clean the entire game. Man, he gets a lot of flack, but man, the body language is the only thing that kind of bothers me, because anytime that a guy, he didn't get a call, a guy maybe had dropped the ball, anything that happened, man, his body language was just rough. And some of the complaints out of Georgia, but I mean, at the same time, I mean, he's done more by taking Miami to the national championship game than any recent Miami quarterback. So I mean, he's cemented himself in history there.
Yeah, mad respect to him for at least being there to help get them to that point. Like, he didn't do anything in the end to cost them until the final game where he did something on the final play. But truth be told, he was very important and critical in their drive for that. So, well, now that game is done, the entire we turn the page and we close the book of the 2025 season. Oklahoma's spot on the AP poll. We'll look at that in the final AP poll ranking in a second. Actually, we'll do that now, because from here we're going to talk about more transfer portal stuff and recruiting, because the coaching staff is actually on a West Coast swing right now, it appears. There's a lot of kids they've been taking pictures with and talking about. So it's gotten your boy excited. Thank y'all for pulling up. Hit the like button. New to the channel, subscribe, rate, review, give us 5 stars. Coop, AP poll dropped. Final one of the year. This one is the one that you technically use this as a marketing tool or PR tool for your team in conversations. Coaching poll, Oklahoma finishes at 13. AP poll, 13. Coaches poll, Oklahoma finishes at number 10. So you saw an increase. You saw, I think they're one of like 3 teams that start the season unranked in the coaches poll and finished ranked, and they're the only one that went from unranked to top 10 at the end of the year. So the coaches respected what Oklahoma did this year, and now we just need to continue to build off of that. How you feeling about this?
I mean, you see JMU in there, and it still kind of makes me giggle. You see Tulane in there. I mean, both of those teams, they got there. All in all, yeah, you're going to use this. I don't think North Texas really cares about that right now, because they're just trying to field a team next year.
A roster, something.
Notre Dame still wouldn't have gotten in with the final AP poll. Just silent or a slight jab there at Notre Dame. But I mean, in the final polls, I mean, I feel like, just for me personally, the number one is the only one that matters. You look at the Sooners, you're in the top half of the 25. You feel good about it. And especially for not getting any credit, I think it does have some merit. When you go towards the preseason poll, which even though those things end up being kind of silly in the early season rankings and everything, just because you don't know what these teams are going to look like when you feel them back out there in the fall. But I expect OU to be a top 10 team going into the preseason. And this has a major part in why that is. And because teams are going to go through there and they're going to see, all right, what did Indiana lose? Well, they lost the Heisman Trophy quarterback, lose a bunch of 23-year-old guys. Miami loses their quarterback. All those things happen. And, when you get to OU, you just go, all right, well, they're bringing back, I mean, pretty much everything on defense. You lose R. Mason Thomas, potentially Owen Heineke, a couple transfers out, Dom Williams. But you look at the bigger producers and you see that's all coming back. We went over the depth charts the other night. And then you see what they did in the portal, and you say, all right, they brought in some more playmakers that, actually had really great stats in other places. And so it'll be a big launching point for the spring. And when we get into, spring, fall camp, and the opening poll prior to week 0.
The good part about it, like I said, mention, is this is really that material you use on a recruiting tear. Remember, 26, the biggest struggle Oklahoma dealt with recruiting was, people was recruiting negatively against them. Oh, they went 6-7. There's no chance they're going to be any better than that going forward. Brent Venables is going to get fired, blah, 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 blah. Now you can say, oh, we finished number 13 in the AP poll and we finished number 10 in the coaches poll. So because you got that finish, this is something that you can talk about with recruits, and you can let them know, hey, we finished ranked in a good spot. We finished in a place where you would hope to finish. That to me that's a huge deal overall, that you're able to finish in a solid spot in your rankings. And like I said, Oklahoma can use that as a recruiting tool that you can leverage. You can talk about that with recruits. You can talk about how the team finished. You could talk about how good the roster was, etc. All of that can be done, and you don't have to worry about that being used against you going forward. And so I'm happy that Oklahoma did finish top 10 in the coaches. I think that like I said, just the respect of the coaches poll is why they got that. Now we've got to build off of it, and that leads right into the current class that we have going on. And so the year's over. It was fun. Back to work. Players are moving in. You got we talked about move-in weekend, and the 2026 class has moved into their dorms. You also talk about all these transfers. So there's a lot to go into it. But there was one transfer that made a big move for Oklahoma, Coop, and we were concerned about wide receiver. We were making some changes. We were making some adjustments. We were trying to figure out what we were going to do. As we were adding additional pieces, and a couple of our receivers hit the portal. This guy came back. Ivan Carrion is back. He decided to withdraw from the portal, and Oklahoma, I guess, came to agreement or whatnot. And I think that's a good thing. It's good to have a big 6'6" guy. Honestly, as y'all know me, big Zion Kearney guy. I was hoping Zion Kearney would have been on that list as well, but not everything works out in your favor. But the guy, big 6'6" dude, to return back to the roster. How you feel about this good pickup?
John Mateer was mentioning in an interview just the other day that at this point last year, you're trying to install, an offensive coordinator, a quarterback. You're trying to get that gelling to happen. It's just another guy who knows his job, and whether Carrion, ends up as a contributor this year or not, he's got some understanding of that. It's another year in the system. He comes in obviously with the Latrell year last year, and then this past year, he had some flashes. He had an almost catch on the sideline. I think it was against Missouri. He had a couple of other moments. And so you hope that he can build, because, you see the guys all throughout college football, Indiana's receiver bringing up the first several games. He had like 7 catches, 100 yards and a touchdown. And then he just blew up the second half of the year. Maybe this is a situation where Carrion gets back in and he says, all right, I kind of saw the transfer portal. I almost ended up, somewhat football homeless. And now he can come back in here. So, let's get him back out there. Hopefully that room has a lot of competition, because they're going to push each other. A couple things you can't coach his size, but he needs to get out there and get to work and really assume that he's got a leg up on some of these transfers and act like it.
He knows the book. He should. So, yeah, you should take advantage of it. And as it was kind of mentioned in the comments, let me pull the comment that I just saw. He mentioned Witten in his statement. Maybe he's converting to tight end. I don't know, man. He's 6'6", but he's like 220-something. And he has he's slender.
Yeah.
He ain't got the big shoulders that you used to that you would want out of a tight end. So I don't see him converting, but it is interesting. He did mention Witten. I think the other piece that makes it interesting is he's from Texas, Odessa, Texas. Everybody in Texas knows Jason Witten, right? That is just an obvious. Um, but I don't know if he's at the frame for it. But you could use him in some sets that make it look like he's a tight end. But that is a very interesting observation. I thought that was interesting. The problem is and as you mentioned here, Boomer Sooner, you said 40 pounds can't nothing 40 pounds can't fix. I don't know if he can gain 40 pounds, and that's him eating Uncrustables on a regular basis. Perfect example, Taylor Heim, one of our linebackers now, who's basically about the same size, and he's roughly 220 something. I know for a fact, dude is eating double meals on a regular basis. That metabolism is not letting him do it. It is what it is.
If this was Carry On coming in, I would say sure, maybe it's an opportunity. But this is year 3.
Going on year 3.
And so I don't know if he really, when we saw him out there blocking, I don't think we want that stuff back in there. I think you've got a nice crop of linebackers from the transfer, some of the younger kids. Probably not going to do that. And Jaron Kanik definitely gave us hope that you could do a position switch and really get some good production out of there. Carry On's going to be a wide receiver. That's pretty much going to be it. If they try and toy with him at tight end, I don't know how long that lasts, and I don't know if he is going to be able to do that. You even saw like a Bauer Sharp trying to come in and become a tight end. The blocking was horrendous. And so, maybe he can get himself to like upper 220s, and maybe, they run him with some split end stuff. If you're Ben Arbuckle, you're going to look at how can I best use him? And I still think that, I would try some of the back shoulder stuff. I would try a couple of, red zone opportunities and find a role for him that he can really, really excel in, and then kind of grow from there. And so, as far as him going to tight end, I could be wrong, but I just don't see it happening, especially in year 3.
Yeah, me either. I don't think that we're at that point. He's not. I just don't think he can do it. I don't think it's that he doesn't want to. And don't take it as me saying that, he's not trying. No, he might be. I just don't know if he physically can. There's physical limitations to the human body. Some of our bodies react to things a lot differently than others. But I'm totally here for the opportunity to see him play multiple spots, maybe a hybrid. And like you mentioned, Coop, I think the most important thing to me is, what's his blocking going to look like? I've seen him block as a wide receiver, and it's pretty solid. I like the fact of him being a mismatch at 6'6" out there. Now it's all about just refining his tools. And I think he can refine those tools, and I think that'll be a bigger benefit to us in that position. But imagine this, him at 6'6", Manny Choice, which is, I think he's listed at 6'3", 6'4". Outside of Manny Choice, you've got 6'3", 6'4", Pettit. You've got Parker
Hansen.
Livingstone, who is also 6'3", 6'4". And then, that's just your wide receiver room right there. Hayden Hansen and as well as Rocky Beers are both 6'5 plus. Hayden Hansen's 6'8-ish. It's a very good chance that he's a big boy.
Well, hell, you put something on film and you put that tall group out there, and you've got, let's go with 3 of those guys. If you get a Hansen, a Carry On, and a Choice out there, and you're in the red zone, what are teams going to think at that point? They're going to, you throw that early in the season, you throw one of these jump balls, maybe get them up on a 5'9", 5'10", defensive back, and then you just throw it to the sideline to where he can reach over and grab it. We saw him do it this year. You put that on film, and then next time you come out, you run a draw with Mateer or with a running back, or some kind of, end around, and you got some options on that. That's why I think that with Carry On, it's if I'm Emma Jones, if I'm Ben Arbuckle, I'm going to find a, 3 or 4 different plays that Carry On really, really excels at. And then when those situations come in, I want him to be a master of those things, because I think at this point in your progression, it's try to find some things that you're really, really good at, and don't go out there and try to become elite at absolutely everything. Just find a couple different things, put it on film, and make people think. So when he comes trotting out on the field, they go, okay, well, they've ran a back shoulder fade, several times to him, so we got to be ready. Well, that plays. Defensive coordinators are going to pick up on that, and they're going to be looking for it, and so you can run something off of that. So that's kind of the big progression for what I want to see with Ben Arbuckle, using the returning players and then also using some of the newer guys. Is let's find things that these guys are good at.
Yeah. And one of the things that they need to be good at, as we all have preached more and more here, and we talk about it a lot here, is blocking. Make sure you're good at blocking. We've seen it. Yeah. But the good thing is we're returning some leadership, returning some people that care, we're returning some people that take that all in consideration. Speaking of consideration, now that we got Ivan Carry-On in, we got to talk about recruiting, because 2027 is now officially a real year. Technically, it was officially a real year. Well, I'd say January 1 we can say it was officially a real year, because even though 2026 signing day, the official signing day is February 3rd, which is literally in 2 more weeks, so you can still sign 26 kids.
Yeah.
We're working the 27 world. We're going to talk about what Oklahoma's doing there or whatnot. But first, shout out to the partners over there at Sleeper. Y'all knew the segue was coming, so don't even act like it wasn't even there. They've done some great stuff, great odds and options. Coop almost won some bread. Actually, he did win some money on his last set of picks that he made over the weekend in the NFL playoffs, and you can't beat that. Coop, who was you riding with over the weekend that got you some wins?
Going with the Matt Stafford, I think it was the Rams game, paired with a couple of the other games. Had Matt Stafford, had a couple guys on the Patriots, had Ramondre Stevenson over, I think it was 60 yards rushing or 55 yards rushing, Travion Henderson on the under. And then there was a wide receiver mix in there too. But I mean, it's simple. Like, yeah, I lost the bigger bet. But I definitely recouped more my money, no pun intended. A simple $10 bet. You put the promo code in there, you deposit up to 100. So I put in 100, you got 200 in the pocket ready to go. You can find a couple of these things. So going into the playoffs, these are great things. Maybe you don't say, hey, I'm not a big gambler. I kind of call it fantasy football on steroids, right? You're just picking out who's going to win. It's just like doing a weekly FanDuel, but put $10 in, pick 5 things, ended up winning. I think it was $105. So not a bad turn, right? And again, gives you a vested interest in what's going on. Did a couple basketball games, won $35 the other night on one of the basketball games. So, I encourage you guys, go check it out. I mean, this is kind of the time. We're about to lose football altogether, so make a few bucks. Maybe if you had a rough fantasy season, your boy won 2 of them. I'm playing.
Of course, he wants to gloat and be all excited about it, but he deserves it because he actually won 2 of his leagues.
Playing with house money.
House money. And Sleeper is known for that. Sleeper is known for their season-long fantasy as well as the daily. And as Coop mentioned with the daily, pick 2 or more players more or less on the stats, and you can win up to 1,000 times your money. He went out there, almost won a big one, but he also hit on the small to, small for some, $100-something. So you can't beat that. But use our promo code UNFAIR. They'll match your first deposit at 100% up to $100. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Thank y'all for pulling up. Hit the like button if you're new to the channel. Subscribe, rate, review, give us 5 stars. So in that case, we got to talk recruiting. Oklahoma is in them streets. I don't know if y'all knew that. It is this week is moving week for the new kids. So they're doing, I guess you could say, baseline testing. Like Oklahoma put out OU put out, of course, the propaganda video of them doing their training or whatnot. I'm gonna find it just so y'all can enjoy it, just like I did. But they're basically doing the propaganda stuff. Getting those initial numbers from everybody, understanding who's what. And I ain't mad. But while the new kids are doing that, you've got the staff out here in the streets. And because the staff is in the streets, they're out here meeting kids. And so I was watching this speed and performance video from Oklahoma. They getting it. You got the training, the weightlifting. You're seeing what everybody's baseline is on all the strength stuff from all the freshmen, some of the transfers. Now you have an idea of who's going to be what whenever you actually really get going in spring ball. But this is what they're here for. They're here to get that training stuff going. But the coaching staff's out west, man. Saw him with, was it Tavian Epps, the edge that we got in as a recruit? That dude's big. I didn't realize he was that big. Not going to lie.
I mean, Tavian Epps is a guy who, I mean, I don't know what the story, was with him, going to Texas, giving the commitment first. And then, he backed off the commitment, got the big press from the coaching staff. And I mean, he's a great athlete out there playing basketball. I think that's when, the Sooners went and saw him. Sorry, Porter Moser. I don't think you're gonna have a job next year here, but don't think he's going to be on the court. It is what it is. We are on a podcast. That's not my opinion. It is the truth. But he's out there balling out, and so that's some of the things when you see defensive ends and tight ends that are really, really good at basketball. You guys like Antonio Gates in the past. These guys. It's good because it's a footwork. You see some of the explosion with him. I mean, I know that there's a lot of people in the recruiting industries, especially like Josh McCuistion. I mean, this is a maybe late day one, early day two type of a guy in the future, and I think that he's got a solid future in front of him. And recruiting and college football, it's 24/7. You have to pay attention. You have to, continue to work this relationship with these guys, because just because he's committed doesn't mean he's going to have, a silent cell phone. Cooper Hackett's made comments. You're going to have people calling you, and so you continue to, to foster that relationship. And this is a guy you want to keep on board.
He is definitely one that you want to hang on to. He's probably one that I like the most. You've also got, some other kids from just Oklahoma roots. You got Samaj Stanford. He dropped his top 12. And, I'm wondering, I think Oklahoma can pull this one out. Kid's talented.
Very.
Kid's talented.
Very. He's got a future. He's got a bright future. There ain't no UNT or anything like that. These are top teams that you see here. I mean, you're going to see most of those teams, outside of maybe Nebraska, in the upper part of the top 25 going into next year. But he's a homegrown kid. We've always talked about building a fence around your state. When you've got big time guys like this, you can't let these guys out. Samaj Stanford's going, he wants to highlight himself. I see this recruitment probably going into early to, midsummer. He'll probably take a little bit longer to do it, but I think OU is probably the leader right now. And what do you have to show him? Whether it's a cheetah, whether it's a safety, whether it's a defensive back, corner, you're putting guys up here, and if you earn it, you can play early. If you want, we can spell you with some of the good depth. But what's going on with Jay Valai's room right now definitely shows him that this is a place to come if you want to be a top end corner.
Exactly. And it's funny, as you mentioned about, wanting to take care of your players or keep your kids at home. Oklahoma, the state itself this year is producing right now 10 top 400 players, with 6 of them being top 300 right now in the consensus composite rankings out there. That's pretty darn good that you're producing that many today. Like, you got a lot of kids that are ranked a lot. I mean, you can't beat that in the industry rankings if you're producing that type of talent. And the goal is right now,
definitely,
Oklahoma leads for a lot of them. Of course, you got the 2 linemen already locked up, the 2 top players, and they're both possibly could finish as 5-star players. And Caden Penny and Cooper Hackett, they could both finish right there at the top, what you're looking for. And then, of course, Samaj Stanford, as well as Gabriel Osborne Jr. He's the big corner, 6'2", 180. Samaj is 5'10", 185. Safety. He'll be a fun hitter with that. We want to keep him home. He's one definitely want to hang on to. But as I talked about this, the staff is out west. You got Honor here. Falalavi Johnson. probably butchered that, but he's 5-star safety out there in San Diego, California. Who was that? Brandon Hall's out there visiting him now.
Yeah. If you can get this guy, this is your next Peyton Bowen, Reggie Powers, Michael Boganowski. You can pair him with a couple other guys, Omarion. You know, we've shown again on the defensive secondary. I mean, you got young guys who are willing to come in and compete and do some good stuff. This is one that if you can pull, I mean, look at that guy. You know, you could see that he's built pretty well. 5-star safeties. I mean, Peyton Bowen, you know, we broke the mold when we got the 5-star safety in Peyton Bowen. You know, it took him, you know, until this year to really be a consistent playmaker, you know, game in, game out. So what else do you really have? I mean, this is a team who went to the playoffs. You've seen now with Robert Spurs Jennings, Peyton Bowen, Michael Boganowski, Omarion Robinson, Reggie Powers, all these guys that came in and been contributors. So we're going to find a spot for you. And this is a dude that I think you probably play at Cheetah also, you know, early and keep in the rotation just to give him, you know, get him in the 2 deep if he earns it. So we'll love to see him, you know, put on the OU hat when it comes time to commitment.
Yeah, he's one that I would love for us to get our hands on. We need to make that work somehow. But I mean, it's gonna be an uphill battle. His top 10 is his top 10 ain't, you know, cupcakes, right? This is all these are all viable options for him, and they're all options that make sense with how talented he is. And so, if Oklahoma doesn't win that one, it's not gonna break the bank. We've seen what Brandon Hall can do. We've already seen that. He would just be amazing. It'd be a great addition to that room if we were to do that. And so then, of course, from there, like I said, they're doing their West Coast swing. Elijah Harmon, one of our already commits on the defensive line. You know, big boy had the big family pickup. BV pulls up with him. Bates. He's gonna be a fun one. I like him. 4-star DT. When we got him, I was not gonna lie, I was a little surprised.
Yeah, and this is one that you're gonna fight with the entire way. A lot of people, USC is going to stay at him, wanting him to stay home. You know, they've got a little, depending on who the defensive coordinator ends up being right now. I know that they're in talks with Gary Patterson. So who knows?
Defensive coordinator, which is not he's actually really good too. I'm actually surprised they didn't go for PK. We got to talk about that another time. But yeah, he's someone that can show, hey, I've had good defenses, and he probably could do it.
Yeah. But I mean, as of right now, you've got him in house. So what do? Yep. You continue to do the visits. He's going to get poems on the weekly basis. You know, he'll get a chance to see not only Stone and Jaden Jackson start out as the starters this year, but see some of the progression of some of the younger kids. Watch guys like Nigel Thomas, Nigel Smith, that is, you know, in his development. And you got a great story. It's we're going to be graduating 2 guys that are probably going to be first-round draft picks at defensive tackle. Like, we'd love to, you know, have you be the next one. And that's a story that's going to go over pretty well with a younger kid.
Yeah, 6'3", 290 already. He comes in and they get him to 300. And he's Bowie. Is he Bowie? Yeah. It's gonna be fun to watch him wreck shop. Why? Because Coop, he's that talented. He has the ability to do that. He can be one that changes the game for Oklahoma on the recruiting trail as we continue. Because remember, like, we're at that point right now in the Brent Venables era of we see the results of how he coaches and how he recruits. Last year, Cole Kublik said that Oklahoma had, in his opinion, the best defensive line in the SEC, and it wasn't even close. How'd they look on the field, Coop? They look like the best defensive line in the SEC, and it wasn't close. Now they just got to keep building on it. And the good thing is they should continue to build upon that. Now, that's the expectation. They're going to build on that. Question is, can Oklahoma take that from the top 5 on defense to top 3 on defense, like BV typically does? That's where we're at now. Is can they get there? Continued visits in the streets is who's this? The running back Jackson Stokes. Jackson Stokes.
Yeah.
Another player that the staff is definitely recruiting hard. And we have a chance we could possibly steal away and land. Kid's good.
I mean, he committed on November 7th, this past year. This is, Chatsworth, California, Chatsworth High School out there in Cali. You saw Emma Jones post, that the Cali Sooners set in the West or something of that nature. Just another one. I mean, as you're going around, you're going to get a conversation with teammates, more buzz in California. We've always recruited California and Florida pretty well. And now with a lot of turnover in Florida, let's see what happens. Miami just goes to the national title game. They're going to be bringing back a lot of guys. Florida's got a new coach. There's a lot of shifting out there. So we'll see what happens. As you continue to put the product on the field, that's what you point to is say, listen, you want a top 15 team. I mean, that's what we were. We're going to start out the season, top 10. We were one of the best defenses in the country and most sacks per game. And, we can do that stuff. And then you start pointing towards now we need explosive playmakers on the offensive side of the ball.
Yep,
you come in here and you got a chance, look at the running back room. We got a bunch of young guys that came out and played. And, you're going to be able to come in and compete right away because it's not like we're going to have, a loaded class of freshmen out in front of him. We just got Zephan Walker and Jonathan Hatton in the 26 class. So you just keep it going. You have to.
Exactly. And with Juju, as asked in the comments section, the thing I see with Juju Johnson is that he pulled back his commitment date from what was that December 1st. He's decided that he wants to give it some time because he's been recruited so hard. But I do think that we still have a good chance. I know that we've seen some predictions and stuff for continual. Like it's people still keep popping in there and saying, yeah, I think Oklahoma's going to end up winning him, and I totally get it. But it's going to take some time. It's going to be a bit before we get anything finalized. But they are visiting, and I expect a picture from the coaches from visits out there probably in the next 2 days.
Yeah.
There's no reason for me to believe that they won't drop a picture of them out there visiting and seeing him because they're in the area. They're going to stop by. And so once Fadli drops that, we'll talk about it. But I do think Oklahoma's still in a good position with him or whatnot.
Yeah, number 43 player in the country for 27. That's nothing you turn away from. This is a kid who looks like he really wants to be here. Rivals has him a 99% prediction to OU. Now, obviously, we're in the world of money nowadays. So does somebody else pop in? Yeah, and somebody pop in and go. Like, I will say this is when we're going to kind of, all of a sudden end up at the end of spring, hopefully OU puts together a spring game this year. And then you're going to start getting into that, May, June, July, where a lot of the commitments start popping. So hopefully OU, with a good leg up, you've got, top end guys on the defensive line. You've got, guys like Zane Rowe that you're still really, really pushing hard for, which is a big time defensive edge. Cooper Witten is now a heavy lean to Oklahoma. You already brought up, Smosh Stanford and then Honor Falava Johnson. And so you have a chance to get top 5 players at pretty much every level on the defense. And that's what happens when you show that progression. And Brent Venables has that pedigree. And you just hope that guys like Miguel Chavis, I got to think that at the end of this year, he's probably going to start getting some looks for defensive coordinator. So maybe 2 more years of Miguel Chavis. So you want to try to, cash in on that as soon as possible, because if he does leave, there's opportunity for guys to kind of follow him. But this defensive staff is doing a great job. And then, now you've got the opportunity to come in and be an early playmaker on offense as a big selling point too.
I'm kind of curious to what coaches, as you mentioned, that who would be possibilities at getting DC jobs. I think the first one, if there's any, I think it's going to be Valai. I know that he wants to be a DC and learning here, and he's been here for a while. Like, he was one that I actually remember people mentioning, like, they were concerned because of his history. He's moved around. He moved around here. His defensive staff, ain't nobody really moved around. I mean, the only changes you had was linebacker coaches, which is kind of tough to be a linebacker coach for Brent Venables because Brent Venables is also a linebacker coach. And so you had changes there, but that room was still stout, still good. And then you bring in Wes Goodwin, who knows BV. So that didn't change. And then Nate Dreiling, who's a young up-and-coming guy that could be the heir apparent one day. I think Nate could end up getting a DC job. I'm going to be honest. I don't see either one of the D-line guys leaving for a DC job. Now, like I said, they could be up for it, but I don't see them leaving. It feels like they just love working with BV and love the direction and the way everything's going. Kind of feels good to have that.
There's a lot of loyalty there because Todd Bates came over here from Clemson. That was the big pull that we got as far as position coach. Miguel Chavis, he was given his opportunity by Brent Venables. So I got to think that Brent Venables is going to probably be in his kitchen having conversations with him. Hey, if you do want to leave for a DC, like what is your goals? Because I don't want you leaving for, to go become the DN's coach at USF or something like that, or the DC at USF. Like, if you want to go somewhere, let's put your eyes and let's find out how to get you to. And, maybe in Ohio State after Larry Johnson, moves on. Maybe, there's a lot of switching around there. So you've got that opportunity when you got a lot of these guys. But I mean, you also have Brent Venables, doing the coaching with Dreiling. I kind of with you is that he might be the first one that, really tries to go out and, create a name for himself, independently. He's already called, some defensive plays, in the past. So we'll see what happens. It's not going to happen this year, but you throw another top 5 defense out there with a lot of these statistics and continue the player development, and teams are going to come calling and say, I mean, what's your number? Is it 2 million? Is it 2.1? Like, what do you want to be the DC at our institution?
Yeah. That would be intriguing. I'm ready to see what that turns out to be. Like I said, in the near future, I'm really curious as to who would be the person that would leave. Like I said, it just doesn't feel like anybody really wants to go. They love BV, and it's similar to what Curt Cignetti's done in Indiana is that he's built his team off of loyalty. Like, his staff members, a lot of them's been there 6-8 years of following him, from IUP to Elon to James Madison to Indiana. Like, Mike Shanahan, I think he had a pick of a couple of head coaching jobs at the last season.
He did.
He's like, nah, I'm sticking here. And
getting paid.
Here you go. You can't beat that. That's a big plus. Blue Collar asks a good question. Any update on Roberts, the quarterback? Nothing. I don't see that commitment happening anytime soon. But I know that we are hardcore after him. He's one that I know that Oklahoma definitely wants to get their hands on, because he's been moving up the charts as of late. So,
and I don't know. You saw that with Bo Bentley. Arbuck was in on Bo Bentley very, very early. And I mean, early enough to where it could have been kind of over and done with, a long, long time ago. But then as Bo continued to perform and rise up the charts, go into the camps, people get itchy, and you see what people are doing for, quarterbacks, in the transfer portal. So, I mean, I would say that OU wants to really get somebody soon. And, there's been whispers that, some movement's been, really, really made here recently, but we haven't seen any crystal balls. And typically when you start seeing some of those, that's when you get a good feeling.
Yeah, we've gotten a couple of those. And like I say, he's moving up the rankings. We'll give him some time. Once he jumps up more, you may be comfortable with going ahead and make his decision. But I know Georgia's starting to go after him. There's a few others that's been going after him. So we got our work to do. But I like his talent. He's out of Mobile, Alabama. I do like his talent. So we'll see. But to answer your question, also blue collar around why not make DC make Chavis to DC. I mean, I think it's because BV is really good at it. I'm gonna be honest. Kind of like we jumped up a whole notch when BV took over as DC. I think I want him to stick to it. But that's why you have Arbuckle as your CEO on that side. So, all right, let's talk. Let's transition this one beautifully, Coop, over to the way too early stuff. Everybody's dropping their way too early polls. So you got CBS, Brandon Marcello. I've seen it from On3. They dropped theirs. Everybody's putting out their way too earlys because it's now list season and we got all that mess there. Before we do that, though, make a couple picks here with the partners over there at Sleeper. Again, if you have not checked them out for daily fantasy ball, you're missing out. Also, they do season long, but they're more than that. As Coop mentioned, he won a little bread, playing around on it. I use it to get a lot of the notifications. Like it shot me all the notifications about all the big commitments or whatnot during the transfer portal. So I can just go through there and scroll through the news. Plus, you can see highlights, updates, all of that here inside the app. And if you decide to play, it's very simple. Pick 2 or more players. The Cooper Kupp, he's one of the free plays. 30.5 receiving yards. Let's see if you can do that one. Pick 2 or more players, more or less on the stats. We'll pick Kyron Williams. I'm thinking Puka as well, getting a touchdown. I don't know if Ramondre Stevenson combines for 73, knowing that that's probably the one I'm going to lose because I'm doubting a Sooner. So I'm going to go ahead and go up on that one. But I am going to doubt Drake May because I ain't sold on that one. 2 or more players, more or less on the stats, and you can win up to 1,000 times your money. So use our promo code UNFAIR. They'll match your first deposit at 100% up to $100. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Thank you all for pulling up. Hit the like button. If you are new to the channel, subscribe, rate, review, give us 5 stars. All right, Coop, we've got, like I said, list season. We are now at the point where everybody's putting out who they think going to end up top 10, top 15, top whatever. ESPN put theirs out, and they had Oklahoma at number 12, which I thought was a very interesting number for them to choose. But their justification was Oklahoma's going to they're returning a lot. The biggest question is the run game. And, they should still have a really good defense. That just confused me as to why they put us at 12. But whatever. I guess that kind of puts us the same as to where the AP poll is, which is fine. On3 threw us at number 10. And then CBS's Brandon Marcello also had us at number 10 on his sheet. What you think as a starting point?
We saw it in the Big 12. We see it here. Everybody's going to continue to put Texas up there. Texas's front line, starters on offense. I mean, they're going to be good. If that offensive line can come together, they piecemealed a lot of that back together. It's just nobody ever learns. This is Texas season. They win the offseason every single year. If you watch the SEC shorts, it's perfect. She holds up the grading scale, and it's like A+ recruiting, A+ in the transfer portal, and then like C- on coaching, C- on offense, C- on defense. Nobody does less with more. But you want to be at the top 10. I mean, you look at it. We're going to end up playing number 2, number 3 as of right now, number 6, number 9. Out in front of us. The schedule's not going to ever be easy. You're going to continue to do that. You get Missouri at 17, Ole Miss at 20. What happens here? Everybody puts out some of this stuff early. Nobody has done really, really good in-depth research. This is all for chatter, right? You put Texas up there, you get Texas, the pompous attitude, and you get everybody going, why again? Especially Sooner fans, which are extremely vocal on the socials. But Indiana drops back to 8. I mean, you look at that, Jay. Like, well, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, you win the national championship, and it's like, hey, man, we finally proved it, and you put us at 8.
Yeah, 8 it feels low for Indiana, but I think it's because, once again, they'll have their third quarterback in 3 years. So now we got to see what Josh Hoover does from TCU. Now, granted, Fernando Mendoza was fantastic for them, won the Heisman. He had a really good season. Went undefeated, won the Natty. Year before, he had Curtis Rourke from Ohio. He was pretty solid. They were able to go 11-2. First 10-win season in program history, and then, of course, first 11 win. That was intriguing that they dropped them here, but I think it's because, like you mentioned before, a lot of their veteran players, their super seniors, and their 5-year guys, they're gone. Somebody posted that the last, I think it was 5 national champions, had 0 freshmen in their starting lineup. And I thought that was interesting that you didn't see any freshmen actually starting. I have to go back and verify, but I know it talked about it, especially in this playoffs. Neither Miami nor Indiana had freshmen starting. And that was where you saw where Indiana had a bunch of 5th-year seniors and 6 years. Now they're starting over, right? I mean, they're portaling guys in. They're going to be changing a lot of stuff in that part. They'll probably spend this entire week redoing that. But the good thing is, and that's the other thing that's a big plus, Owen Heineke mentioned this on the Oklahoma Breakdown, and me and John talked about it over on Locked On Sooners. Check that out. And Owen talked about how the front office allowed for Coach Dreiling and Coach Goodwin to be able to spend more time watching film with the players, which I think is huge, right? That's a good one, Mark. Malachi Tony was. So it was just the
Hoosiers.
It was just the Hoosiers. It was just the champions that did it. I was trying to remember if it was this season or if it was the champions the last few years. So it was the champions. So good point. Malachi Tony was. He was. So, yeah, just the champions itself. But that's a fair point. Freshmen had that. But anyway, Owen mentioned that the front office allowed for them to be able to spend more time with them watching film because they didn't have to watch film of recruits as much. The staff, the front office found the players they liked that they knew would be good, bring it to them and say, hey, these are guys let's start working on. I like that. I'm here for that. And I think Indiana's doing the same. They have a front office that's going to be doing all that work. So they'll be replacing a lot of their players. But, man, yeah, dropping that low, I feel like they should have – 0-3 was at least smart enough to give them the top 5 treatment.
Yeah, yeah. And
you know
then
what I'm saying?
The old opt-outs in there in the top 5. So
exactly, we'll
hopefully
see
things
if
don't
they
get tough
stay
for
there.
them.
Oh, I mean, based upon their schedule, they should finish number 1 in the country. Not going to lie.
Yeah. Jay, I think I mentioned this somewhere, but do you remember when we were in the Big 12 and every single year we'd be ranked highly, we'd be coming out in the playoffs, whether it was BCS or, they expanded 4, and nobody really seemed to take us seriously. I mean, that's now Texas Tech, because you look at Texas Tech and you're like, yeah, they're there, but nobody expects for them to be there at the end of the year. They got really good production from the defense. I mean, that's really what led them. But, that was a less havoc defense than Oklahoma's. And then when it came down to it, a less productive offense with Baron Morton. So, I mean, there's a lot of teams in here to where you just look at them and, like, there's a lot of flaws. They're going to be replacing, coordinators, coaches, quarterbacks in a lot of those areas. And, it's really interesting. And that's why we talk about this for the next 4 months, is because so much change, and it just more and more every year with the transfer portal. You don't know, like, does a guy get his contract and produce again? It's kind of hard to say which guys, is what happens if Cam Coleman comes out and rolls his ankle, gets a high ankle sprain week 1, like, what does that look like? So
Right.
Lots of opportunity for movement, kind of both ways.
It is. Good opportunity for that. So we'll see how it finishes, but I think it's fair. I said it was fair in the beginning that Oklahoma be within the top 10 to 15. I'm here for that. That is definitely not a negative in my opinion. But all we got to do is continue to go prove it, right? The schedule should be a little bit more favorable. I mean, you still got 3 tough games. You're playing in Athens against Georgia. You've got, your rivalry with Texas. Always a tough game regardless of who's good, bad. And then Texas A&M are probably your top 3 games next season. And you pull out at least one win there and you run the tables on the rest. Good chance you finish once again. I mean, Ole Miss is going to be tough, even though they've had a lot of changes. We'll see if Trinidad Translis is back. Luckily, they come right back to Norman. So that makes things a little bit more on Oklahoma favor again. But yeah, we have to see what that turns out to be, right? We don't know how that's going to end. It looks like he may get his waiver. I think I just saw something there, but I personally am not upset with the fact that we're getting a little bit more respect going into the season. We talked about it here. We emphasized it here. We both were saying we've seen about 10 wins here. Now, we did get a little bit, went a little too hard on the Beaver and said 11 in some capacities. But truth be told, you don't have a quarterback with an injured thumb, you may actually get to 11. You finish it up. The next step is going to be the hardest because going from 10 to 11, winning 9 games, 8 to 9 games is a lot easier than getting to 10. It's that one game against a really good opponent that usually gets you. It's that one time that you may slip up and you don't. 11 is even harder. We get there, brother. Cancel Christmas. That'd be huge.
Well, I mean, you mentioned you got Michigan at home with a freshman quarterback. So what does that look like now this year on the road up there in Ann Arbor?
A sophomore quarterback with a new offensive coordinator? Sign me up. Brent Venables is pretty good at going against freshmen and sophomores.
Yeah. So, but you still got to go on the road. And you're going to see, I mean, OU's got 2 games that you look at and you're like, all right, I mean, regardless, those need to be wins. You go to the 9-game conference and you see in the SEC, I mean, these are all ball players. And you saw, I mean, South Carolina could go from what they looked like in the first half versus us versus what they looked in the first half against A&M, against Bama, against LSU, against, I think maybe Vanderbilt also. Like, I mean, there's, you got a ball game every single week. And so that's just where I love how you said the difference between 10 and 11 is, 10 and 2, like maybe like the Ole Miss game, you have some weather, you're coming back off the broken thumb. You make one mistake on a punt return and all of a sudden that game just looks completely different. You have to come back. OU really skirted by and got some favorable, bounces, late in the season. And then obviously eventually that it runs out. John Mateer threw for, a ton of yards the last 2 games of the season. So if you're Ben Arbuckle and you're talking to this offense, you're like, hey guys, that's what we have in the tank. Like we can do that against SEC defenses. We can do that there. Let's get out there and let's make this happen. We just got to eliminate those one mistakes. We get that mental toughness. And I think that's going to be the, what you're preaching is, you always hear like the finish mentality, but that's what you got to preach is like, hey, listen, like we can make the mistakes in practice. Let's get it right on game day. Like, but, we want to make sure that we avoid that costly turnover. We want to avoid that misread because, I mean, you saw the pick 6 against Alabama, super costly.
Yeah, that's the one that hurts you. Is like I said, that's super costly there. That's one of those painful ones of big yikes. But I think if you can fix that.
And you got it right, Jimmy. You don't have your somewhat second bye this year. You get your first 4 games and then you get your bye. You come back with 8 straight. It's Cotton Bowl, home, away, home, away, home, away. So you got to feel like maybe there's there's going to be some fatigue, but that's where the depth comes in. This is why you need the freshmen and the freshmen and sophomores to continue to progress throughout the year. Be more disciplined, be more effective early in the season. That way, towards the end of the season, you continue that rotation on that defensive line. You continue that rotation at defensive back. You continue that rotation at safety. You got receivers who are making plays when given the opportunity.
Yep. That's what you're looking for, is that specifically. But as the question's been asked, the concern about the 8 straight, I mean, yeah, you pointed it out very well. Let me pull up the schedule for next season, because it truly, like, I'm really not afraid of how this lays out as much, because, I mean, you said it perfectly, Coop. You've got Red River after a bye. So you play in Athens. I mean, Mexico State comes to town. You play at Athens. You get a bye. Then you Red River. Then UK comes to the house. You travel to
Cowbell
to Cowbell to Stark Vegas, and then South Carolina comes here. Right? I'm happy with that. Going to the Swamp in November, sign me up. I am here for that. That is optimal weather. It's not going to be, I'm sorry. Yeah, New Mexico Lobos, not the state. My bad. That is the Lobos. I always forget that logo for some reason. It always confuses me, but I digress. Not an Aggie. That is a Lobo. They're both very weird looking when I look at their logos. But that going to the Swamp in November is so much more optimal, because weather-wise, you're not going to be frying. You're not going to be sweating super bad. You're not going to be stank, right? Like all of that. And as a fan going there, it's so much better. Now, the Ole Miss game on the 14th, woof. Not going to lie. Them coming back here on November 14th, man, I don't know, Coop. That sounds like bad weather.
Yeah, I mean, it's usually more towards that Thanksgiving Day, that A&M game the next week. We got the rain for the Ole Miss game. I mean, I think that you got a little bit of narratives, right? Kentucky is going to be breaking in something new. You got your narrative versus Texas. Let's measure strength on strength with Georgia. You got, hey, we can't let our XOC beat us. And, who knows if they have a conference win. I think the offer in the past 2 years. But South Carolina, last time they came into the house, I mean, it was over before it started. So you get that revenge. You can point towards what happened when Texas went to Florida and say, hey, we got to avoid that. I mean, this is Summerall's going to, I think, probably coach better. A lot of Florida fans think he's pretty much the same thing as Billy Napier.
So that's all I've been hearing.
How is this going to end up any different? And then Ole Miss, you got the revenge factor. A&M, hey, once upon a time, 77-0, and then you want to continue to put Missouri back in the locker. So you want to go up there. So I mean, you've got speaking points and storylines on all these weeks, but this is the difference between playing in a different conference. Like, there's not going to be a UCF. There's not going to be a Maryland or a Rutgers on this schedule. Like, you're going to have to come out and ball out every single week. And, we already showed the rankings. I mean, you got Michigan who's going to be ranked. Georgia's ranked. Texas is ranked. What does South Carolina do in Lenore Sellers' 11th season in college football? Is Florida, they had a great defense. I mean, they're good coaching away from probably being outside, the rankings this past year. There's a lot of storylines.
I'm curious to see where Florida and Ole Miss is when we face them. But in that, I think the thing that helps me to the question that was asked, let me go up here to, I want to post it on the screen for everybody and those who are listening. Jimmy asked that question of, about OU playing 8 straight games without a bye. The fact that November 14th and 21st are back-to-back home games, that makes me feel encouraged.
Makes it a little bit easier. A little bit easier.
It makes me very encouraged. That is the only reason why I haven't, I'm not freaking out about it too much. Because those back-to-back games are going to be tough. I mean, I think those 3 straight games are going to be a toughie. Going to the Swamp, having Ole Miss and A&M come to the crib, and then traveling up to Columbia for Thanksgiving weekend. Having those 2 games back-to-back, to me, really does help with the fact that we ain't got no bye week. No second bye week. Now, the 2 bye week season won't be back until 2030 because it's all based upon how the calendar falls. Just got to be consistent. And Travis, you're right. You got to be consistent. Don't get too high, don't get too low. You're never as good as you think, and you're never as bad as you think. But as long as in the middle, you play at the level that keeps winning, that's all I care about. Again, in the way that things went, we still, in what was considered one of the toughest schedules in the country, and we literally heard everybody preach this to us, Coop, all offseason. Man, I like Oklahoma, and I like what they're possible, but man, that schedule's too much. That schedule's a gauntlet. We finished with 10 wins. Something to be proud of. Now he's got to do it again with a schedule that may be a little bit, it's top heavy in comparison.
You got teams. Let's see here. I just looking at the grid here. You got Texas, Oklahoma, and Ole Miss all have byes on week 5, and then they all play out the rest of the season. The difference is Ole Miss, and I believe Ole Miss gets Wofford, right after playing us. So they're going to be loading up. But the inverse of that is you got Alabama, Kentucky, LSU, Tennessee, A&M, and Vandy. They don't have byes until week 9. So that's 8 straight weeks to open up the season. And at that point, you're going to be limping into that bye. So, would it be better to be in the, week 7 range for your bye? Sure, probably it would. We're playing Michigan. The continuation of this debate of, is it worth playing anybody in a P4 game? Well, you go up to Michigan and you win that game. You saw it happen for us this year. It's a great speaking point. So you go up there. OU should win that game. That's an expectation for Oklahoma to win that game. You lose that game, and it is what it is. Then you're kind of chasing your tail the rest of the year. So you just can't take a single week for granted. You got to go out there and handle business. And like I said, that's where I started off was with Brent Venables. It is all right. We have to focus on the details, make the plays that are going there, and let's make sure that we are absolutely focused in on the controllables, which is your discipline, your effort, and next man up. If somebody is dinged up, you're going to have to come back in. And if you play complementary football, that's you look at Indiana, I think probably won that game all 3 phases, right? They made plays on defense. They had the block punt on special teams for a touchdown. And then they made the plays when it mattered. And you have to win on all 3, play complementary football.
Man, I'm looking at this and be honest, man, I'm looking at the teams we play and who they play the week before us.
Yeah.
Buddy. 2 teams play Georgia right before us. 2 teams play Tennessee right before us. 1 plays LSU the week before us. And then, so let me go ahead and read that out to y'all so y'all know. So Georgia has Arkansas right before us, and they're on the road to Fayetteville, which is really weird. They actually have to play, in a way, it's kind of weird they have to play an SEC game right before us because they open the season with back-to-back. Their 2 cupcakes are right at the beginning of the season. So they play Arkansas on the road before us. Arkansas got a new coach. We'll see what they look like. I don't know. So Georgia has that. Us and Texas both have bye weeks before. They play at Tennessee. We play at Georgia. So, you get a bye week. So that's a wash. That's a good setup for both. Ole Miss, I'm gonna share this for those that want to follow along and read, but I'll also just say it didn't work out the way I wanted it to. But I digress.
Gets Georgia right before us.
Georgia, the ones that get Georgia right before us, which when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's no bueno. Florida gets Georgia right before us. Ew, that's just pretty stinky. South Carolina gets Tennessee right before us. Texas A&M gets Tennessee on the at home right before us. And let me see the last one. See, Kentucky has LSU before us at home. Lucky for them. See, Missouri has Kentucky, and actually 2 teams got LSU. Mississippi State has Kentucky. LSU right before us. Like, dang, that feels brutal. Like, feels like cruel.
Feels
and
SEC.
SEC. And then Ole Miss has Georgia right before us. So 2 teams have Georgia, 2 teams have LSU, 2 teams have Tennessee, and then Missouri has Kentucky right before us. Dang.
And it's, last game of the season. Kentucky's been that team that is, you just don't want to go up there. What does Will Stein look like up there? Do they still have that, that kind of hard-nosed Mark Stoops type of mentality? Like, those guys have been there. That's who they are. So, yeah, this is the SEC. Like I said, we don't have a Rutgers on the schedule. We don't, you don't have like a Minnesota, which, again, may have some fool's gold on the wins and losses. But, there's not, you think Ohio State's like, shaking about Minnesota, right before playing, Penn State. So, yeah, this is why we're in this conference, is every single week. And these games are so much, more entertaining. You got a chance to potentially end Jeff Lebby's coaching career. You got a chance to maybe, push Gary Pinkel out. There's a lot of opportunities there. And, we mentioned it before, a lot of new coaches, a lot of new coordinators, a lot of new quarterbacks again. This stuff's going to happen.
Exactly. A lot of changes, a lot of movement that we've seen going around. And like I said, the one thing that really gets me excited when you look through the schedule is we may have it a little bit more favorable than a lot of people expect. So, all right, we'll see what that looks like. Thank y'all for pulling up. Hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, rate, review, give us 5 stars. Me and Coop will be back Sunday per the usual. Hopefully you all stay warm. Those that are based in Oklahoma or across the South, sounds like it's getting like for real out there, and people are like buying everything up at the store. So I need to go do the same. Probably need to go get some supplies just in case. And prepare for, Snowmageddon and or Ice-mageddon or whatever the heck it ends up being. But we'll all be hanging out in the houses, so y'all do the same. Shout out to our partners there at Sleeper. If you ain't checked them out for Daily Fantasy Ball, of course you're missing out. Use the promo code UNFAIR. The match first deposit at 100% up to $100. Stay warm. Be good. We'll talk favorite newcomers and all of that stuff. I got a couple videos coming in the next couple of days as well, so keep your eyes open. Talk soon. Peace.